Okay, welcome back to House Human Services. We are picking up on draft 3.1 of the pre-K bill. We are now joined by Ledge Council, and we are going to start going through this bill really paragraph, section by section. And I think we can, there'll be things that we have more questions about, but I am sensing a coalescence around sort of some general themes. And I feel like honestly, our committee is actually in concert with the testimony that we have received so far. The last bit of testimony we're going to get is from the group of principals, school boards, and superintendents next week. So we're going to go with that. I'm going to jump to a conclusion that they're going to be similar, maybe not the same, but similar. So let's start on page 1. Good place to start, right? The change has already been made to is 3 or 4 years old, putting that back in. So let's just have, I think that there's probably some coalescence around returning to not yet enrolled. That seemed to be what I saw people nodding their heads about. Yeah. And what we received in testimony.
I have a bobbing head. I'm not sure if I'm nodding or shaking.
Now's the opportunity to talk. Let me just say, I was convinced by the, because I was in the enrolled camp, I'll be honest, which is why it appeared in this.
Prerogative.
Decision. When you all are chairs, you get to do the same thing. I was convinced by thinking about the developmentally different stages that children are, particularly at that very young age. I mean, all children develop at their own pace, but recognizing that and recognizing that it's not required in kindergarten, it's not required. That it seemed to be allowing that more flexibility was not harmful.
That last part of it, that kindergarten is not required, this is not required, is probably the most influential on my thinking. I was wondering if there was some other way to figure out for kids who may not, 5-year-olds who may not be ready, was there another way to determine rather than just parental choice, because we don't necessarily give parental choice all the way through the rest of the system. If a kid was enrolled in EEE or other markers that we could use to determine whether it'd be appropriate for a 5-year-old not to enroll in kindergarten. So that's kind of where my thought was, but I also understand that, yeah, if this isn't and kindergarten aren't required, then.
And there isn't any move to do that. So we're going to move that back, Beth. Got it. But it's not yet enrolled in kindergarten. Do people have any suggestions for the definition of pre-K? Key there is obviously developmentally appropriate early development and learning, and based upon our learning standards. So I don't think we can come up with a better one. So let's not mess with it. Okay, good. Pre-qualified provider, we'll get through to C. It essentially says what are the qualifications. So that have to be the same as in C. Okay, so access to publicly funded pre-K education. All the witnesses have wanted to increase access. We have heard to be cautious about that and what that impact could be on childcare. What do you call them, bands or whatever, the tiers, in terms of number of hours that you're eligible, what the need is defined as.
Sound like
whether it's full-time or part-time.
Part-time for CCFA.
For CC, okay,
Yeah.
so like the certificate that they get
Yeah.
for the number of hours.
Yes, yeah.
Service need.
Service need, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I will say that in the trying not to upset too much of the apple cart, and knowing that one of the primary things that we want to do is to equalize the payments between private and public. I'm willing to give on this at this point in time, even though it's a goal.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking earlier, when we're juggling amounts, like, I think at that age, I think of it in terms of more than a half day is too much. And I think 20 a week is like 20. That's why I was asking, what's a typical day? But, it'd probably be like 15 hours a week would be a half day,
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah.
But then more recently, I had the same thought you did, is like, let's leave that stable among the things that we want to change.
Among the
for now.
levers that we
Right.
know, like, I think that the secretary was, forthright when she said we need to understand what it costs and
Right.
pay what it costs.
Right.
Um,
That would be another big cost driver among others that we think are priority.
Right.
And I don't see it as.
what do other folks think about this?
Agreement,
Yeah,
leave it alone.
okay, so we'll move that back to 10.
So,
Yeah, no question mark, go ahead.
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, there's just so much in flux about how we are funding education. It's really hard to do this, or to.
I'm wondering if we could insert something that would say 15 if funds allow, or something like that. Because one of the things that, and this is going to be controversial, I know, I'm going to put something out there that Dr. Crossman is going to authorize that probably. But, this is an equity issue again for me in terms of access. Right now, the way it's situated, any school district can put whatever it is that they want in their budget. And they can have whatever length of day, whatever length of a number of days. And this is a minimum. And should we be setting an absolute?
Yeah.
I would, but I don't think we can go there.
I would,
now.
I'm voting for it.
Really? Yeah, I would say this is what, I just think that's part of how the scope of inequities have grown. Because areas that have been able to offer more out of their own funding. And, I don't want to say, and decide to do more, if that's the tension. But
How about no fewer than 10 and no more than 15?
yeah, that would be a good.
I feel like we're wading into an area, however, where there are a number of things that differ from school district to district, and we're not equalizing those. And those impact the total ed fund. So
Well,
it
that's
seems,
what we're trying to fix. So
well, but
that's
we're
what-
fixing it in this one small area, and
No, I mean,
So
the
it's like
system
we have
as a
jurisdiction.
whole. I say we're trying to fix it as a whole. I think that's part of what's trying to be fixed is
Say
the
again what you said, no
unevenness.
fewer than 10 and no
More than 15.
Actually,
well, this display, if I'm getting this thought correct in my head, if we didn't move to categorical, Abe, kept it as a weight, then the school district can manage it within the budget they have per student and decide whether it's going to be 10, 15, 30 hours a week.
Which might be an equity issue.
Well, that's the equity.
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
the
equity.
issue.
If a school district, let's say.
But they have the same funding. It's it's a choice they make within the district, but all districts are going to get per pupil through the foundation formula, the same amounts. And so
Ways
so
and
as a
Means-
random
Ways and,
example.
I'm sorry, Ways and Means seems to be committed to categorical aid. I think that one of the things about that is because of the mixed delivery system. And ensuring that we are able to have the same payment to the public and the private. But I think that one of the things we need to ensure is that whatever categorical aid is included in the total cost of education, not an add-on.
Correct.
Yeah. So
And right
And-
now, I'm sorry, but, if you guys can remind me, we don't know right now how many hours the kids are getting across the state. That's a
Only
data
anecdotal.
point.
It's only
Right, so that's a
anecdotal.
data point that
and
we
AOE
don't
doesn't
know.
have that information.
And that's something that they're working on.
Yes.
Getting. So I feel like it would be a little premature to make the change without having that data. Because if we don't know, we're kind of guessing based on anecdotal, and if it's data that we're gonna get, then we can make actual informed decisions based on what's happening, the reality is, right? Then we would know, is it, are X percentage of schools offering, or school districts offering like 35 hours and, and it would give us like, geographic, like, is it like a lower income area of the state that is offering less, or, you know what I mean? It's just like, right now, we
The
don't
answer is
know that.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's when you would adjust that next year. We gotta, it's sort of like.
The answer is
set-
yes. You have to,
Yeah.
I think you have to set the expectation, I guess, is what, and the the expectation is, I mean, I would lay dollars to donuts or whatever that saying is, that we could identify the places where more is being offered.
Mhm.
And I bet we would do that with 90% accuracy.
Do you think that our hypothesis should be based upon need, or it'd be to borrow an old phrase, the gold towns?
Yes.
Yeah.
Generally, not
No, it would not
wholly,
be all gold towns, and it would be, there would be high immigrant population where that's been identified. I think is one of the reasons that Winooski
Yeah.
has, full-time, however that's defined in Winooski.
But then we would prohibit Winooski from offering more than 15 hours.
At least paid for by public,
paid for by public dollars.
where they could put in, possibly bump up against excess spending if they.
I'm just putting it out there as an issue, an equity
Mhm.
issue. And it exacerbates, I think, the equity issue even more. It's not just like, I'll use Franklin, I'm gonna move to Franklin and Grand Isle now because that's a place where we should be, but, and that's even closer proximity, who knows, they could be all part of some region at some point in time, and, I don't know. But, so a kid, who is growing up in St. Albans, because they're in St. Albans, and their school district makes one choice, that's part of what this whole transformation is about, is trying to equalize educational opportunity.
right.
And if we just kind of continue to promote something that we know isn't inequitable, I feel like we're just adding to that, but I am struggling with the don't
Like
net it too
prohibiting,
much.
right. Also, yeah, don't like,
I think.
Yeah, because Doug, what I'm hearing you say is, so this is a totally random example, if one district wants to do, full-time pre-K and another district says we want to put our allocation into having more languages for our high school students, that they would be able to do that.
choice.
And, it's an equitable amount of money, but it's not equitable opportunities for the kids who then don't get any foreign languages, versus.
No, but I don't think we're ever going to achieve equity in that way across the districts unless we're very standard. You offer French 1, 2, 3, you offer Chinese 1, 2, 3, German, whatever, across every district. They're going to be district deviation.
Some, it's how wide. I mean, my problem, and I try to listen and, it impacts your biases some, but you
Right.
have core
We have
biases.
biases, yeah.
And I think in terms of, when I think of pre-kindergarten as education oriented, and I know that it doesn't mean they're sitting there, counting numbers on the blackboard, but still, it is it's different from playtime. It's different from actual daycare. And my gut is like that's full day is that's too much. And I'm not saying that we need to make available, particularly for more needy, that they have a day available for a full day of something quality, but that might be half a day's worth of the affordability for getting quality daycare and half a day of pre-K education. So,
I guess to the point that Rep. Garofano was making is we don't have the data and we'd be moving somewhat based upon anecdotal and the example we have, to me, strikes me a district is doing something that is very supportive of the population in their community. And I would hate to have, we'd be upsetting that apple cart for a student population that I think is.
I don't disagree with that. I'm also going to encourage us all to think about a statewide system and not individual school districts. That's really hard. It's really hard to do, but we have to have a statewide systemic approach to whatever we put out. I'm going to propose for now that we keep this as status quo at 10. And, further conversation with JFO about the study and, sort of like, what are the questions we want them to, let's put that in the hopper as one of the questions. Will you keep track of the questions for JFO?
so not change a cap at this point.
Not changing that at this point, but I
agree.
think that the concept needs to be out there.
So tell me the question for JFO.
The question for JFO is, essentially what would be the implications for current spending and future spending if there was a, no more than, a cap. And then it does raise into question, then if we're trying to equalize the payment, for this, if it does end up being a categorical aid, then you'd have to have differential if you're going with AOE saying you got to pay the cost. Well, and if they decide, to do 10 and somebody else decides to do 15, if that's the upper limit, then you would have to have different cost, you would have different costs for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So we're going to move on. If a parent or child chooses to enroll, Beth, every time we say school district, can you add or future regional entity?
Yes, may I be so bold as to ask why?
Because I think that there's a possibility that if they might not be called districts.
Oh,
In the future.
okay,
And there's the possibility that, tell me the initials again.
CISAs?
Yeah, the CISAs, if CISAs or BOCES or, whatever variation on those initials that potentially end up in some kind of thing. I just want to allow for something that might not be called a school district.
Yeah, but is this ultimately gonna be a part of a bigger bill, or is this gonna go on its own and go before?
Other stuff is going to be added to this.
Okay, so at that point, when those
They can
decisions are
change
made,
the
they
language.
just change the language rather than making it longer and.
That's fine.
I am happy to take direction from you and make that change. I would offer that, I don't see any world in which a seesaw or your current BOCES, they're not governance units.
Right.
So I don't imagine funds would flow through them and there would be enrollment or anything.
That's a good
there.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good point.
I think you are very safe with the term school
Okay.
district.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Even in the district supervisory union debate. Right.
Let's not go there. Supervisory unions are also not units of governance. They are administrative units. So,
Unified unions,
unified unions are school districts.
yes,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Aren't
too
you
many.
glad
we
we're
have
not
too many
there?
theories. I'm so glad we're not the education
Yes.
committee.
Yes.
Okay,
I think you're very safe with the words.
Yes, I know.
School district.
okay, yeah, Are you gonna do something? Okay.
Just judiciary. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so I feel like we had the paid tuition question. Is that still, so I think that where we're gonna land on this is that we're gonna land on a categorical grant. So would we still be saying pay tuition?
Yes, because it would be, I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but I think the concept would remain the same of school district gets the pot of money.
They get the grant.
And they get the grant, and then they are responsible for disseminating that money depending on the choice of the parent. And so if it is, and you can see here, this is, they pay tuition to the pre-qualified provider or the public school located outside of the district in one instance,
Mhm.
or they just enroll the child in their own school district, which automatically means they keep that money.
Okay,
So
I'm just trying to be on the lookout for anything that might insert or assume a different level of payment. And
absolutely.
you know our intent about that, so
Yes.
you can be on the lookout for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm there with you.
All right, are there any other questions or comments about that page? Yay, moved on to page 3. Okay, okay, so this is where we assign responsibility to the school district. I'll be honest, I haven't been convinced otherwise.
I haven't either. I just have been convinced we need to fund it.
When I saw this language, I have to say, when I was wondering whether you were offering these as alternatives, because they seem to conflict with one another. The two blocks of highlighted text.
The 3 and 4,
Yeah, 3 and 4. They seem to be,
Say more.
yes. I thought that too.
so in 3, it's school district shall be responsible for,
For kids having access,
yeah,
either by operating it.
or assisting.
Uh-huh.
And then, so that seems fairly close, I think, to what the current model is.
Absolutely not.
No.
School district's not responsible.
The school district is not responsible. Oh, I didn't know that.
I should.
Okay, then I guess so this is adding basically, they must assist. So at least that's the change. They must assist as opposed to,
No, they must
No,
ensure
they shall be
access.
responsible for ensuring resident, so that first sentence.
And that's why number 4 is important. So number 4 means that if the supply is insufficient and there are more students who require access, that they have to do something about that. That's a big change.
4, I definitely see as a big change. 3 doesn't seem like, to me, when I read it, didn't take it as far along as.
Three, currently, 3, the first part of 3 doesn't exist. It's not the school's responsibility to make sure that the child has access.
Right now, if you were to take that out, just that next part is what exists now. If requested by the parent, the school district makes a payment. That's all that exists now. The only thing that we're guaranteeing for people right now is that if you find pre-K and you're accepted it, we'll pay 10 hours.
And I guess I was reading this new language in 3 as helping them find. And then in 4, creating it if it doesn't exist.
I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because it gives them the responsibility for ensuring access in 3. The first
responsible
part of the
for
sentence,
ensuring.
they're
Which means they
responsible
either
for
have to
ensuring
do it
access. All
or find a place who will do it.
right,
Okay.
About operating.
cogitate on that.
One last thing. I was reading the 3 as being more in line with moving forward with that part of our discussion about having coordinators. Like that would be a step to help
Yeah.
ensure you are assisting.
I think 3 and 4 actually
Yeah.
combine in
Doing
that. Yes,
that, yeah.
yeah.
Would it be helpful on that end to like numerically somehow connect it to like, I don't know, I mean, I know they're distinct, but to somehow indicate that they're very much together, even though, because they are separate numbers,
I could just be the outlier in how I'm reading 3 and I can accept it, accept that, but.
like a
They are
3A.
really the same thing, aren't they? Yeah.
My other question too, you said on Friday or Monday or Tuesday, are we getting testimony from whom?
The V's.
Okay.
The superintendent association.
So that'll be very interesting to hear their feedback on this particular part, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that they will probably be against it unless it is funded. And so that is the premise of all of this, is that it needs to be funded.
Yeah,
We're not going to be in charge of what the total dollar amount is here in this committee. I mean, I think we have to understand and live with that.
We're just developing policy that would.
We're developing policy that sets the stage for how that is considered.
And this is policy that's working well in parts of the state
Yeah.
that's currently happening within existing funds, that school districts have managed to figure out how to do this on their own because they have prioritized ensuring, because the language in existing Act 166 was kind of like referencing that school districts maybe should be doing this, but it wasn't making it mandatory.
and when you say this, you're talking about assisting families in finding a spot. Okay, so
When the
voluntarily.
supply isn't there,
Yeah,
right? So
certain
if they don't-
districts are doing that already voluntarily,
Already,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're getting together and collaborating and funding a person that actually does that work. Will work with the school districts, the community
Yeah.
providers and families and ensure that access is created and slots are there and people are connected. So we're saying that should happen statewide,
Totally.
regionally. And then someone else will figure out the funding.
Brenda?
Yeah. Kind of made me think. So we said Winooski has full-time?
They did when we passed Act 76. I don't know what they've done in the
So are
years
they
ago.
getting-
They did 3 years ago.
Full-time, they're getting fully funded?
No, well, if that's a complicated question.
Oh, I'm just wondering.
They
like,
include it in their-
make it Equitable,
They
that
include it
would
in their
make
budget.
sense to make everybody the same if they're getting more.
They are,
I'm just
they
using
are,
them for an
they're being
example.
funded because they include it in their budget, in their operating budget that is approved by the voters in their school district, in their
Correct.
community, and that we all fund.
Okay, so this would, I remember Ray saying equitable. That really makes sense. That really makes sense. Now it's game.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to number, I think we don't have any issues, I don't think, with line 6 through 10. That was that's current language, if the parent requests it to go to some other provider, as long as they're pre-qualified, that can happen. I just didn't know organizationally if that should be a separate paragraph or not.
I'm sorry, where are you?
I'm on page, 3.
Three, okay, yep.
Yep, still on page 3. So, all right, let's move to 4. Okay, so previously, you can see what is struck. Nothing in this section shall be construed to require
Yeah.
the school district to do anything, okay? We're changing that,
Opposite.
right? We are moving to, yes.
Everything in this section.
Right. We are saying you shall begin to expand a program to satisfy the demand and may work in collaboration with AOE, AHS, and BBF. And other neighboring school districts and private providers to
So
expand.
here, I
capacity.
just wonder if we want to be a little bit more, and I'm not married to anything. Just
Yeah,
kinda,
yeah.
If we want to be a little bit more specific about this concept of a regional pre-K coordinator. Just because it's a concept that exists, it works well, we want to kind of give that outline of what that looks like, or just let them kind of try to figure it out on their
I think that we know it's a good practice, it's worked in
Yeah.
areas, so I don't think we require it, but I think we make a suggestion
Yeah.
that school districts may, I can't think of the language, may
like a
consider
regional,
uh,
pre-K coordinator.
something along those lines. I would stop short of making it a requirement.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
I wonder if that works better up on line 4, where it's within district or assisting a family through a regional pre-K coordinator or other service or other means to identify a pre-qualified private provider.
I think it applies to both, so
Both,
maybe
yeah,
maybe it's a separate thing that applies. We'll let council figure out like how it should be incorporated.
And you said
Yeah.
school district, would it be supervisory union?
No, we're just saying we're being generic and using school district.
Thank you.
And
I could complicate matters, but I'm not going to.
Oh, so now you said that, you know, you have,
Yeah.
now we're gonna mess up, come on.
I think we can figure out language for a pre-K coordinator, absolutely. In fact, I think I've drafted some variation of that along the way, or we have drafted some variation of that along the way. The concept of regional is hard because a school district is a school district. And we have 119 of them. So if you're suggesting, you know, if you are comfortable letting me come back with a proposal, understanding what your goal is, I may not use the word regional because if a school district is holding that employee, it gets complicated with how many of them are there for a region, what is a region? And so, because we have some tiny school districts and we have some big geographic school
Right.
districts. So, I hear what you're saying about regional and the need for that.
Which, right, I mean,
What is the region?
right,
Yeah.
especially since it says the region, so
Yeah.
it's, yes,
So I will, I mean, I'm comfortable deferring to you, coming up with, like, knowing what we're trying to.
But then you are welcome to be unhappy with and give me further direction on.
well, Katie would tell you, we don't lack for that.
They hold back.
Oh, yeah, we don't hold back.
So I hear you.
Okay, Dan.
Nope, that was it. Just
Oh, okay.
that conversation.
Okay, pre-qualification. I don't think we're really, you know, they have both said that they want to continue to jointly manage that process. Anybody have any thoughts about pre-qualification?
I do have a question though about, I mean, when you just describing there, they want to jointly manage, and yet we're making it the responsibility, two paragraphs earlier, make something school district, which means agency of education. Will they come back and say that's not jointly managed well enough, or do we need to worry about that?
No, they
think
should
so.
just, I mean, they just testified that they're in agreement.
They're in agreement, but I sort of got the sense that we were sort of hoping that one or the other of these agencies will be the lead agency on being responsible for this. Can we secure that there's shared agency?
You know, one of the things that, and I know, unfortunately, it's dependent on, but like everything in life, it's dependent upon who's in what position at what time.
Exactly.
And, you know, right now, at the head, they're working really well together. And, you know, there's this kind of like awesome team between, you know, our, Building Bright Futures and AOE and DCF and all the people, you know, sort of in that sphere. I didn't see them needing any change in that
Okay,
right now.
that's fine. I just want to make sure that if we're sort of hoping that there's going to be responsibility, I wouldn't want cracks to develop down the way that
Sure.
they can't do anything about.
Sure, yeah, I get that. That's, yeah, certainly. Okay, so, are there any thoughts? And I'm gonna, defer to our resident expert on, the STARS program, about what, I don't know if there's been any change in this 4 and 3 since this was
No.
originally written, so
Yeah,
that was
this is all
still,
good. Yeah.
okay. Any feedback about that? Okay, so we're on line 16, 2A. So, just to refresh people's memory, this is keeping current, what is current, even though it's underlined. And later on in the bill, we talk about what goes into effect, which is having a teacher, which I'm sure we'll have delightful conversation about,
Yeah.
but not this moment.
I like it better when I just have questions, not opinions.
No, I like both. So, and then, this is making it explicit. Remember, the current statute does not make it explicit that we are expecting a pre-K licensed teacher in the classroom, whether it's in public school or private. And so we are saying, because this is a fact that we know that all schools have collective bargaining agreements. And they all require there to be licensed teachers in the classroom. So, that's what B here is, saying. Any questions about that or comments? Okay.
Only because I don't know, like a 4-star daycare. Do they have licensed teacher? Because I know
I may have.
They may or may not.
this will require them to.
The yellow part under B is just talking about public schools, not childcare. The private pre-K is line 16 through 18.
Thank you. We haven't got there yet.
Yes, we just went
We
by
just
it.
went by.
Oh, we went by it.
Yes.
Okay.
So licensed private providers right now, they need to have access to a licensed teacher.
Someone needs to be in the building.
It just need, right, and they're, I'm not sure they have to be in the building all the time, but,
I was just thinking how they could
they
afford.
don't have to be in the
During the-
classroom, let's
yeah.
just put it that way, they don't have to be in the classroom,
Well, that's what I was thinking.
but we're gonna change that.
Afford it. You know, like a.
Well, that's why we want to equalize the payments going to
We're
public
gonna
and
get
private,
more money.
Okay, got it.
okay? All right, so we're now on page 5.
Okay.
So I have questions about number 3. So we're saying that you don't have to have a pre-K license. I don't agree with that, believe it or not.
So wait, what's your question?
It says they don't have to have a license. It just says they have to have early childhood, it says that is not licensed. Okay, so it envisions that they could be licensed. And if they're not licensed, they have to have regular active supervision and training from a teacher who is licensed and endorsed.
Is that how you get licensure? I mean, if you, no, so it seems like weird to me
So I'll put
that
the caveat that I'm not an expert in licensing. That's not my area. But, you know, there's different requirements for a registered home provider versus a licensed home provider. The reimbursement rates are different,
Not pre-K,
not in pre-K,
but they're
but
not going to be.
I don't believe there's that many registered home providers that are UPK pre-qualified.
I have one in my district.
Oh, you
I
do?
thought our some
Oh,
witness
no,
testimony
he's a
seemed to imply that
Yeah,
they thought that usually it was in the home.
Licensed. So
Right.
home providers are either registered or licensed.
but we know how many,
Right.
we had some piece of data from one of our witnesses that talked about, that showed us how many kids were getting pre-K in, family home care
But
settings.
family home care settings can be registered or licensed.
Right.
So just because you're getting care in a family childcare home, it doesn't mean that it's a registered home. It may be a licensed home, which has different requirements.
So so you're
Yeah.
actually even bringing in another
Another layer,
element,
yeah.
right? So should this say licensed or registered home?
Well, that's, yeah.
So the concept here, we got 2 questions. So, Ray just added another element. I think that they thought it was, I don't know what they thought when they put it together, but, so should it be registered and licensed home care provider? Or we should make sure we're using the right language. So maybe you could
I'll
confirm
check
that.
with you.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question is, should they also be required to have a teaching license by some date in the future, Doug? That will be out there a ways.
it seems.
If they're gonna be paid the same thing as everybody else is
I
getting.
agree with that. I mean, I think. It doesn't seem.
Can I steer you down?
Good then.
I know, you're better than me, probably.
I guess that's gonna get me back to my point about then maybe we have 2 levels of payment. If you're complying with the current requirements, you get something in line with what the current payment is, and you'll get an enhanced payment that is on par with the public school setting if you meet the new requirements. But I'm really concerned about driving people out of the business.
I will do more work, more research on this section, because I think for me, I need to understand how many registered family childcare homes are UPK qualified. That's number one. because,
Registered or licensed.
well, no, registered.
Okay.
Because then if we don't have any, or if we only have a few, a registered home provider, this would, like, for me, this makes sense. Because a licensed home provider will have the requirements. Let me come back to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could I try?
Yes.
Maybe. So we know that childcare homes could be registered or licensed. So this subdivision 3 just is covering registered homes. But if you look on page 4, 2A, line 16, we talk about licensed providers. So that isn't just a center-based program, that includes a licensed home. So there's a different standard
Answer that
of
question.
supervision.
Yeah, you just articulated
answered it.
exactly
Okay.
what I was trying to say.
I didn't
You know,
understand.
there- Yeah, no, that was me.
Okay.
'Cause medicated today.
Okay, so it is just
So this
registered.
only applies to registered.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
Okay,
licensed.
I get it, but I'm gonna come back to qualifications of a provider to provide high quality pre-K is in the qualifications of the teacher. And so what we're saying then, absent the
Separate.
separate things, what we're saying is that kids, we're okay with a potentially lower, I don't want to say quality, but
Qualified.
a lower qualified individual in the family home care setting.
But I wonder, this is where we bring in what Doug was talking about, is having a different rate for a registered.
No, but what I'm saying is that, are you okay with that? The concept that kids going to that setting are going to get a different service than kids going to this setting, and it's all called pre-K.
I think it might, in this case, it might be irrelevant what we might be okay with, it's what the reality on the ground is. I think it's gonna be really difficult to get registered home providers to get licenses, to become licensed educators. I think that's really gonna impact the private sector. We have, there's a lot of family childcare homes that do not want to be licensed. They don't want to do the extra work. Or not the extra work, but they have their business plan and that's what they offer. So I think it's gonna really upset the apple cart, going back to that conversation, if we now add this additional requirement. So this is a place where I see where we can say, okay, if this is where you want to be, we don't want you to go out of business because you don't want to become a licensed teacher or hire a licensed teacher, then you get a lower rate because those are the choices you're making, but make that transparent to families so they know that they have options, right? They have an option of, that's also kind of speaks to more of this is if we're committing to a mixed delivery system, a registered home is part of that mixed delivery.
I get that, and I would be making the reverse argument. I would be making the argument that you're making right now. When we get to ECE, don't forget that argument.
No, I totally agree with you. I agree with you. Because that is.
I just think
yeah.
pre-K is a different level.
So that's
Than-
what I
than
would like to
childcare.
find out from the
Yeah,
department. How
yeah.
many registered programs
So,
are you?
so we're gonna hold,
Yeah.
we're gonna hold on that. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I think that if we're looking at increasing access by creating more, whether they're private or to have access to that workforce, setting it at the lower, you might have people open up a private provider where there is nothing right now.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if we actually call it pre-K or not. If you're not gonna have a licensed teacher.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
And that's
We
valid.
might call it something
Yeah.
else.
Mhm.
But then my guess is we're gonna get pushback from the education
Sure,
people about
people.
paying it with ed fund.
Yeah.
So I just, we
Yeah, I
need
don't
to.
think UPK dollars should be going there anymore.
Yeah, and I think if we're setting the standard for pre-K as being provided by licensed teachers, then it's not pre-K.
But the legislature previously said it, or under contract with and getting the guidance and support. And I would hate to lose that.
Yeah, I'm understanding the dilemma. I'm just not hearing a recognition of the other dilemmas.
No,
Um, so I appreciate the steadfast.
if we were gonna,
The thought.
my thought is if we're gonna leave this as it is, the idea that you could essentially get pre-K education, but not in a licensed place, that I would recommend that we suggest that rather than just getting supervision from a teacher, that you actually get on a course, that you get on a track to become.
And that's what I mean, I think there is probably sufficient information to say that there are people out there who do not want to do that. I'm not sure they are the people who are actually providing pre-K.
Yes.
That's what yeah.
They're just
They could be just registered folks. So we're gonna move on from this one
Yeah, and then
because
we'll get. more
Ray is gonna get more information,
Yes.
okay, to help us find out how much that is. Katie, we have moved back to 10 hours a week on the next section. On line 10.
Page are we on now?
We're still on the same page, page 5.
Hours.
And were you here when I said we have extra time till next week?
No.
We have extra time till next week,
Okay.
okay? Yeah, we're gonna
I'll leave in like 3 minutes.
yeah, okay. Okay, so let's just see if we can get through this page. So the number 1, D1, the district paying tuition, and Beth is on the lookout for making sure that we're not saying things that can be interpreted as being paid different if you're private from public. I was concerned about the use of the word tuition, but she doesn't seem to be, so I'm gonna let it go.
Okay.
At the pursuant to section C, make tuition that are within the district's academic year. I don't think that we have any issues with that. Tuition paid at this section shall be at a statewide rate, which may be adjusted regionally. This is, I think we need to put like a big question mark about that, because I asked this question yesterday. Like, I have to ask Ways and Means. I'm not really sure what a foundation formula. I envision the Agency of Education recommending a dollar amount, but I envision the legislature, the General Assembly approving it and appropriating funds for it. So I need to ask Ways and Means what they're thinking about that.
And hotel rates.
Yes.
Okay, let me make a note of it.
Okay. And the district would then be paying tuition upon receiving notice from the parent or guardian they admitted to a program or other district. And then enrollment in the district for purposes of budgeting. And this is where I think we take out average daily membership, because we're not anticipating this being part of average daily membership. But I don't know if that is appropriate to take out. Who's on?
It's on page 6 now.
Jubilee. Oh, okay. I couldn't see the name. Hi, Jubilee. I couldn't see your name. All I saw was a car door. Okay, so if the I think that's something I need to ask JFO or Beth, who knows more about that.
So that's, yes, I can't answer that, but that's the clause, and determining average daily membership.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have a categorical payment.
Hmm.
Do
Do
they,
we not take
do
that
we
out?
take that out? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna pick this up again. Not tomorrow, though. Right, Lori? What would I do without Lori? I do not know the answer to that. No, unless house floor is really short tomorrow, which I doubt. So we're gonna be having an introduction to autopsy reports tomorrow.
Oh, that's great.
I know, right? I always say,
Good Friday send off.
when I describe what we do in our committee, I go from pre-birth to after death. It happens. Okay, thank you very much, Katie. That's all we're gonna do on this, folks, right now. I really am charging everybody over the weekend to read the bill in a lot of detail, to point out questions, and keeping in mind where we're headed generally. And if you have proposals, like language Representative Bishop? If you have a proposal to make when we get to teacher qualifications and process to get there and all of that kind of stuff, it'd be helpful if you could work on some language so people can consider not just your words, but in here, but the
Basically,
ones
if you
on the
have a
paper.
question, come with a proposed answer.
Exactly.